Welcome back to the buyingrealestateblog.com. I'm Jason Fleming with Keller Williams Realty and Group 4610. And today I'm joined with Patrick Richie. He is the author of the Credit Roadmap, and he's also the GRI finance instructor for the Arizona Association of Realtors, or an instructor. Exactly. There are several things that a lot of my clients have been talking to me about that they just have some questions around.
Okay.
And not just my clients, but just a lot of people have questions around credit. You know, what is it? Who decides? Yeah. You know, if you get an A or a B or a C or an 800 or a 500.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to just go over a few of those questions with you so that you can help as the expert some of my clients and our viewers to understand more about credit and what they can do to better their lives.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'll go ahead and start off with basically clarifying that in the world of credit, you've got your credit report, which comes from the 3 credit bureaus, which would be Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Then you've got your credit score, which comes from Fair Isaac, and many of us would know it as the FICO score. And keep in mind that this all came about in terms of when it really started to matter back in 1995. That was when mortgage giant Fannie Mae said we're going to start using the FICO score, the creation of the Fair Isaac Company or Corporation, in underwriting mortgage applications, because prior to 1995, when there was no credit scoring, which really kind of introduced the age of technology. When you think about automated underwriting, which really did reduce man hours and stuff of that nature, but it was somewhat arbitrary in terms of looking at a credit report and then defining whether or not it met the guidelines. So credit scoring was designed to basically speed up the process, reduce man hours, basically to make it, I guess, to be more precise.
Gotcha.
Although the downside to it is how many times do people have mistakes on their credit reports? That happens pretty frequently. One good example of that it would be the U.S. Public Interest Research Group did a study, done a couple studies, but generally they determined that roughly about 70% of credit reports do have some sort of inaccuracy on it. 29% of those may be significant enough to cause the denial of credit, where maybe I have a collection on there that shouldn't be on there, or that has been paid, or maybe it's somebody with the same name, something like that, or maybe it's one of my creditors has just accidentally reported something erroneously. That happens as well. So as far as the credit score, that's kind of how we got to that point as far as why credit is in our lives now. So in terms of how the credit is determined, it's based on these factors that Fair Isaac put together, which let me just kind of go through those 5 factors basically.
Great.
We have to pay on time. So 35% of my credit report or credit score that would show up in my credit report would be based on paying on time, and our definition of paying on time is going to be paying within 30 days of the due date. So if my payment is due on the 1st, and this is on any account that what we would consider traditional credit, what would typically show up on my credit report. For example, my utilities don't show up on my credit report. My car insurance, generally my cell phone bill would not, but my credit cards do. My mortgage, my car loans, student loans, stuff of that nature. So anything that's traditional that would be on the credit report would have to be paid within 30 days of the due date. And as long as I do that, then I'm on time. Outside of that, that's when I get a 30-day delinquency, a 60-day delinquency, and so forth. And so I want to avoid that. That's because that's the biggest impact. The next largest factor is going to be the balances that we have in terms of what balances do I have based on what I have available to me. So in revolving accounts become very significant, especially the credit cards as unsecured revolving lines of credit. There's a thing called the credit utilization ratio. So whatever I have available to me, and then versus whatever my balance is any given moment based on whenever my credit score is generated, which is it's generated at the point in time when my credit report is pulled. So I want to try to keep my balances on credit cards as low as possible, knowing that kind of the rule of thumb is under 50%, but just always knowing that lower is going to be better. It's kind of like if I know I'm going to go to the beach, I know I'm going to put down the cheeseburger and fries and the soda, and I'm going to start eating salads and drinking water.
Gotcha.
So if I know I'm going to be applying for credit, or whether I'm going to be trying to borrow money or not, a lot of times we think about just that, but it might be about applying for a job. The Society of HR Managers 60% of major employers look at a credit report when they're making a hiring decision.
Wow.
So that's pretty critical for a lot of people, and generally an oversight that a lot of people don't think about when they're looking for a job or even a promotion. So trying to put myself in the best position, if I can keep those balances on credit cards low, that's great. Then the next one, the third factor would be length of history. 15% of the factor of the overall credit score is determined by how long have I had accounts, which the credit cards are good again because of their indefinite nature. They're just there forever as long as I keep them open and the creditor keeps them open. Then it's going to be how much, 10% is going to be new credit and me applying for credit, what we would call inquiries. So if I check my own credit report through the government mandated website, which is annualcreditreport.com, there's no hit to my credit score.
Okay.
Whereas if I go out and I apply for a credit card, mortgage, a student loan, something of that nature, that's a hard inquiry that's going to factor in. And then if I actually get the loan, that's new credit that's going to show up on my credit report. And so from that standpoint, that's about 10%. Then the remaining 10%, the final factor, would be the types of credit that I have. The kind of the best type of credit would be a mortgage. It's secure, it shows longevity, it shows roots to the community that I'm not going to pack up and disappear, versus a credit card. Credit card can be used anywhere in the world. It's unsecured. It's probably the most dangerous. Finance companies are looked at a little less than with a little less than, say, an automotive loan. So there's some variations there. That has less impact generally once people have established their credit. So basically, as long as we pay on time, credit cards that we have, try to keep those balances as low as possible. Always checking the credit report to make sure that we recognize everything that's on there and make sure there's no mistakes. That's critical. So.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So just a few things that I picked up from there. I know there's a ton of information. One of the things that I just learned was that if you're going to go and apply for a loan, or even if you've got a job opportunity where they're going to be pulling your credit, it's probably a good idea to maybe pay down some of those credit cards. If you're just waiting to pay, on a certain due date, what you might want to do is just pay it off early so that maybe it boosts up your credit a little bit.
Definitely. It's going to make a big difference.
Another thing that you said that I thought was really critical that I don't know if a lot of people actually know how to get to is how to access their free credit report.
Yeah.
And you said annualcreditreport.com?
Annualcreditreport.com. And keep in mind, there's 250 deviations to that.
Okay.
So it's very easy to fall into the wrong place, and then next thing you know, your credit card's being charged. If you end up in a place where they're asking you for a credit card, you are in the wrong website.
Okay.
So another easy way to get to the right place is if I go to the Federal Trade Commission's website, which is just ftc.gov, since they're the agency that oversees the credit system as far as all the legislation and all that. I can always get to annualcreditreport.com through ftc.gov.
Okay.
So, but be very careful with that. So.
Gotcha. So if you want to be careful, go to ftc.gov.
Yes.
And look on there for how to get your free credit report, which will be through annualcreditreport.com. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for stopping by here. That's all the time we have for today. But check back in tomorrow. Patrick Richie is going to be joining us tomorrow to continue to help us to understand credit. So I want to thank you, Patrick, for joining us today. And for helping out all of our viewers here understand this critical component to our lives, really.
Yeah, I know how frustrating it can be.
Yeah, definitely.
Trying to understand all this stuff.
Definitely. If you have more questions for Patrick, or you could use some of his expertise for how to get you out of financial or credit issues, I'm going to go ahead and post his contact information right below this video here. Go ahead and give him a call. Is that okay?
Yeah,
if I do that?
Absolutely.
All right, great. I know he's written a book called The Credit Roadmap. You can find it on Amazon.
Yep,
I
it's
believe.
on Amazon.
So go ahead and check that out as well. And another thing, if you are looking at buying a home or selling a home, there are 2 books that we are giving away for free this month. We're giving away one of them. You can't give them both, obviously, but I'd like to get one of those books into your hands, okay? The first book is Your First Home, and then the second book is The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Both of these books were written by Gary Keller, who is the founder of Keller Williams Realty, and I think they'd be really beneficial for you. Some great information. If you would like to get one of those books, go ahead and contact me. I'm going to put my contact information just below this video here. Send me an email, give me a call. I'd like to hook you up with that. Thanks so much for stopping in, and we'll see you again soon.